While we seek some responses to some of the issues mentioned earlier, Stefan Wode was chef de mission of the IMF mission to Ghana, indicated that the country has ticked a few boxes, and the second tranche of the $600 million of the $3 billion IMF loan is on course. Take a look.
Optimistic is that these actions are already generating positive results. Growth in 2023 has proven more resilient than what we were initially envisaging. Inflation has declined. The fiscal and external positions have improved. International reserves are increasing again, and exchange rate volatility has significantly reduced. Once our executive board review is completed, Ghana would have access to another $600 million, bringing the total IMF financial support disbursed under the arrangement since May, when the program was approved, to about $1.2 billion.
From the finance minister as well, because at that same press conference, it was a joint press conference between the IMF and the finance ministry, and then also the Bank of Ghana. Finance minister indicated that the economy has achieved stability. Take a look.
External creditors, I believe we are doing well with regards to the engagement. Expected that this coming week we might actually get a proposal for them. Our target is to be able to conclude this thing before year end, and we are pursuing it. And I think achievements of the SLA also puts pressure on coming to faster resolution. So this achievement is important towards our negotiating stance going forward. The Paris Club Common Framework, MOU, certainly France and China continue to be very supportive.
Professor Bopkin has to leave us, so let me just round up with him, and I still have my guests with me in studio. Professor Bopkin, now, based on all the indicators taken into consideration, would it be wholly right to say that the economy has achieved stability as we speak?
Hello.
Hello, Prof.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So we had expected that Ghana was going to pass the first major review. So the IMF statement that the program is largely on course is largely consistent with expectation. And the reason I'm saying so is that if you look at the structural benchmarks set for the June end, for which reason provides the basis for this review, these are not significantly things that the country will not be able to achieve. And therefore, one is not surprised that Ghana has scaled the war largely, because once we've reached staff level agreement, already the managing director of the IMF is aligned. Of course, bear that in mind also within the global context of geopolitics and geoeconomic fragmentation. We bear that in mind, and what the IMF itself seeks to do with their former poster boy, Ghana, and the rest of them. So, but largely, we cannot say that we have achieved stability. We have seen signs. We've seen signs of recovery, but things are still very, very high. Inflation is still very high. 14.1% is still very high by world average. Interest rate is still in excess of 30%. The CD cumulatively has depreciated by more than 20%. So you could not realistically look at all the indicators and say that, yes, we have achieved stability. Of course, what did we expect? We went through all the sacrifices of domestic debt restructuring, haircut here, haircut there, utility price adjustment, higher taxes, some expenditure rationalization, simply because we want to have stability and we want to have recovery. So there's a price that we have paid in order to have this. That said, Alfred, the level of stability and improvement that we expect that will benefit the ordinary Ghanaian certainly cannot come within the first 6 months or even the 2 years of the implementation of the IMF supported program. Remember, the IMF focuses much more on the macro. It takes a while for macro level stability to translate to micro and to reflect in the pocket of the ordinary Ghanaian. So we are still a long way to go. And the consistency then is very important. Because macroeconomic stability, as we are beginning to see signs of it, is really coming to us at a great cost. It's coming to us at a great cost. So we speak right now, project implementation has stalled. We are achieving stability in the FX market because we have suspended coupon payment on our external debt. If you read the IMF press statement, you will see that even though the signs that we have seen is largely also contingent on the success we make with the restructuring of our external debt, because that is where the risk also is. Because we are expecting that by way of external debt relief, annually in the next 3 years, Ghana is hoping to get from external debt about $3.5 billion annually for the next 3 years. That is huge. So that is where the emphasis will be. The progress we make from there, it means a lot for the implementation of the IMF supported program. That said, Alfred, nobody, we cannot pop champagne over this. We've seen this time and again. Macroeconomic stability, it's not an end in itself. It's only a means to an end. How do we build on this? And we all know, and that is what we should all be concerned about, because the IMF supported program is not what would address our concerns holistically and sustainably.
Okay, but
that
Bobby,
should not be lost on us.
And the next leg of this will be the engagement with the external creditors. As the finance minister has indicated that in the coming weeks, some agreement sort of will be reached. Now, this is not going to come for free, is it not? Whatever form this agreement with external creditors takes, it will certainly demand some level of commitments from us. How costly will that be?
Yeah, so typically, we say that bonds and bondage are from the same family word. Typically, the form that the restructuring will take, we can also learn from the case of Zambia. It can be reprofiling. It can be reprofiling. Some moratorium, great. But even let's learn from what we have done with the domestic debt. We've just given ourselves largely grace period. In terms of the maturity, and then some gains in terms of coupon cuts. Now, because the country has submitted itself to the IMF, which is also a key condition in order to take advantage of the G20 common framework, for which Ghana has taken advantage of the debt service suspension clause. And the governor told us that so far we've saved about $2 billion.
Right.
And that is what has also helped with the stability of the city. Okay. So ultimately, if we don't get express debt forgiveness, which is most unlikely, and is the case of risk profiling, reprofiling, it will come back to us one day. We have to pay. We have to pay. So it should not be like something that we think that, oh, some people are just there to just cancel our debt. Remember, from the official creditor committee perspective, they are also concerned about their taxpayers, because that is taxpayers' money.
Sure.
That's taxpayers' money. So we cannot just borrow, use it anyhow, and think that some people will just show up one day and cancel our debt.
Right.
I think it doesn't make us responsible as a country. Okay? But at least
Indeed, I know you'd have to bounce it off of us, but a very, very important point that you made there. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for even going beyond the time that you said you're going to stay with us. I appreciate you. Professor Godfrey Bokins, a professor of finance at the University of Ghana. Lawyer Martin People, before I went to Prof, you were building up on that point because it ties into what we're talking about now, even with this IMF verdict on the state of affairs. Even though there's been some level of macroeconomic stability achieved, it's come at a great cost to us. That includes the DDEP that we're talking about as well.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, and it's good that we also mentioned that on page 7, the IMF warned that this program, if they don't do it well, is going to result in social unrest. Yes, that's what the IMF said. It's going to result in social unrest. These structural weaknesses that he failed to take care of and now is ballooned into a national crisis is going to be a problem. And let's read it because, look, duty bearers need to know that this is what the IMF itself says. Okay, there's significant downside. It says that, says that domestic policy slippages represent a significant downside risk to their projections, further compounded by risk associated to the end 2024 general elections. Likewise, public discontent and social unrest could affect the program if the adjustment policies do not sufficiently shield the most vulnerable or reforms do not improve economic conditions of the population. Let's repeat. Say, likewise, public discontent and social unrest could affect the program if the adjustment policies do not sufficiently shield the most vulnerable or reforms do not improve economic conditions of the population. So you see what we keep saying every day. Hey, these people that have been pushed into poverty, now you have over 3 million Ghanaians living on less than $1.90, and I've just converted to 24 cedis. So you see it here. The cocoa example Professor Bobkin gave and all those things. You see, so that is the core of the matter. That's the governance. Because look, when I go to the Constitution, that's the same thing the Constitution says in Article 36, that government should develop Ghana in such a way that livelihoods are protected. You can't go and say you are building Agenda 111 in such a manner that people are starving. If by the time you finish building, citizens are dead, do you have a country? You don't have a country if you don't have citizens. You say. So you read this IMF. Mr. Kanse, are you?
Yes.
But let's read Article 36 because from time to time it's good we remind ourselves that the Constitution prescribes how development should be carried out. This our Constitution has a lot of provisions. Right. 36(1). It says, the state shall take all necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person in Ghana, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and suitable employment of citizens behind those ones who can't afford food. That is the essence of the matter. Because you go on there and the IMF says, yes, when government came into this program, they said we're going to increase the LEAP beneficiaries. We haven't seen the beneficiaries being increased. In the mid-year budget review, Oforiatta said next year. How? Meanwhile, here, you said you are going to increase beneficiaries. And that's how come for about 4 weeks now I've been reminding the Honorable Minister for Agriculture that, look, the agriculture water project in the north that they're supposed to do to help farmers carry out farming even in the rainy season. He should hurry up because for over 6 months, he hasn't done much. Okay, the EU, the donor funders, have been pressing that this project should go on well. So please, this particular thing, so you see that every time we keep referring to the poverty, it's a constitutional injunction. It's a constitution that says that government must give citizens food. It's a constitution that says that government must give citizens water, shelter, right? So when we come and talk, it's not like we're just doing politics. I come here to talk based on what the Constitution dictates.
Indeed.
That is it. That is the point. And so, last point, I think the IMF, like they themselves have said, I think as they do the review, they should also watch. Their history shows that they were not the best that we wanted. At the UN level, it had been discussed, and they said they wanted a United Nations bank, a bank that could lend on better terms and do things better than the IMF. But, you know, like we always say, Thatcher and Reagan said, no, IMF, and now we have this situation. So IMF should remember that, look, we are not happy that this aided government to put in this project that is now causing us so much harm. Yeah, because we are suffering. We are suffering. You see the betting, taxes on sanitary pads, etc. That's not good for us. So the IMF in their review should also look that moving forward, this is not the way to develop. They can give us better terms. They can't stretch us because this write-off, you see Governor Addison is saying that it's the IMF that caused them to do that. And it has increased inflation. So IMF, now you are killing us. You are killing us. That's really what you're doing. You can do better than that.
Well, while we also do better in managing the state of our economy as well, so that we don't go to the IMF, you know, to deal with us with all of these killing conditionalities. Robert Blackwell, on this particular point, because you see, you cannot take away the gains that have been made under this program, as acknowledged by Professor Bokpin and indeed the IMF as well. But you cannot also discount the cost or the sacrifice of the Ghanaian people as well that has led to these positives that we're talking about, is it not?
Look, Alfred, the time has come for the political class of our country to carry out deep introspection. Why do we keep doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting different results? We all know that there is no country on this planet that has developed with an IMF program. Not one. All the Asian tigers we celebrate, from Singapore to Malaysia to Japan, name them, none of them transformed their economies, liberated the full potential of their people, empowered their people, became first-class societies because they went under an IMF program. So why this cycle? And why do we keep going back to the IMF? That is why it brings me to the point that I was making earlier about a new leadership paradigm, about doing things differently, about saying that, look, we want a clean break from our history, and particularly we, the younger ones. And that's why I'm very disappointed this morning with the trajectory that my colleague Richard took in his earlier submission. You know, the young people on social media have an expression which I find particularly insightful. You know, when you are going on and on and on, they just come up with a one-liner. You go explain tire.
Yeah.
They don't even waste their time to finish what you are saying.
Yeah, it's true.
Or writing.
Yeah.
You say you go explain tire, and they dismiss you and walk. They don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Leadership is about solutions. Look, this business of assuming that the people are not discerning, and that it is how we are framing the narrative, or how journalists are doing their work. Please, I think that we have heaped enough insults on the people. You cause them pain, you cause them unemployment. Look, as we speak, have you analyzed the cost of the current IMF program? If you read the 2022 budget, a copy of which I have here, page 58, go through that page and see the costs that we have to bear. There is a total freeze on employment in the public and civil sector because of this. Major projects have been suspended. Projects that were almost complete. Check the state of the Kumasi airport. Check the state of major roads. They have been discontinued. As I speak to you, workers have been laid off. Talk to contractors. As I speak to you, key sectors of this economy are not being financed. Road contractors are owed 15 billion cedis. And look, we are nowhere near even the full brunt. Wait for the 2024 budget coming in November. As part of this program, read the staff level agreement. There are going to be a raft of new taxes. So the real bitter pills are coming. They are coming.
Hey,
Can you imagine more taxes
no,
under the current debt restructuring, financial haircuts, all the ordeals that people have had to go through? So look, this IMF program is a program that was avoidable. I thought that as a political class, we had all become wise, and we said that, look, the last program that we went under, that will be the last one. At least there was an agreement on both sides of the divide. NDC said it will be a last program. MPP said, look, we will never go back to the IMF. Because we all know that, look, it becomes a vicious cycle. It doesn't transform your society. You just take a hit. It causes you so much pain. So why did we come here? If you read the finance minister's letter to the IMF, begging for this bailout, dated 1st May 2023, and it's at page 53 of the report.
Yeah,
The IMF application letter signed by Ken Ofori-Atta, he himself admits that external shocks have heightened pre-existing vulnerabilities and pushed the economy into crisis. He himself. When you are writing to the IMF a different
yes.
narrative, a different story, then when you come and sit on TV3 Key Point, you say that it's all external shocks. Pre-existing vulnerabilities. Look, let's look at some key data. 2016, the debt stock, which they made a lot of noise about and hanged President Mahama for, was 120 billion. By 2019, before COVID, the debt stock had increased to 225 billion. They had added 105 billion. Can you imagine? They had almost doubled it before COVID. Take the debt to GDP ratio. In 2016, it was 56%. By 2019, long before COVID, it had risen to 70%. You remember that when we were in power, all the experts said, look, we have to watch it. Well, you don't have to get to 60%. Baumia's lectures, that once you're approaching 60%, you are in trouble, you are in crisis. Your debt levels are not sustainable. Don't get there. We made sure we kept it below 60%. They came to power, and in just 2 years, they exceeded that, 70% before COVID. You have probably forgotten that the CD plummeted so badly that before COVID, they set up a 40-member committee. Do you remember? Which had the likes of Franklin Kujo, they brought civil society. Interestingly, they left out Baumia, the head of the economic management team, in that 40-member committee. That is how helpless they were in managing the currency before COVID.
Right.
You take the debt servicing amount. In 2016, it was 11 billion. By 2019, it rose to 37 billion, 91% of total revenue. Take the budget deficit, which was kept below 5% in 2016. By 2018, it had gone to 7.5%. By 2019, it was 7%. That's the reality. So don't come and hide under COVID. In any case, when they talk about COVID, they conveniently leave out the fact that COVID was a windfall. Yes, we regret the deaths, we regret the hospitalization. But it brought in unprecedented amount of money.
Why you round up
They
for me?
got 30 billion cedis from COVID. What did they do with it? Have you read the Auditor General's report? The Auditor General reports that the monies largely could not be accounted for. Diversions. You remember what happened at the Ministry of Information? Money for frontline health workers. Communicators were sharing it. You know, so when they talk about external factors, COVID, it brought in 30 billion, which they dissipated, create loot and share. Let me also
round up for me. Yes, I know with that.
Richard Ahiagba shot himself in the foot when he went to quote that IMF document on the global economic situation. He himself, in reading, reads that the IMF says that average inflation in advanced economy will be 5.7%. In emerging economies will be 8.5%. Is that where we are?
Okay.
We are an outlier in excess of 40%. Take all our neighbors. I've gone for the data. Take all our neighbors. Ivory Coast is doing 4.6%. Nigeria is doing 21%. Benin is doing 2.1%. Kenya, 6.8%. Zimbabwe, can you imagine Zimbabwe? Is doing 18.4%. Senegal, 5.3%. Inflation. South Africa, 4.8%. Liberia, 11.1%. Nobody is where we are. If you take even the countries, Ukraine, Ukraine, which is receiving the bombs, is doing 11.3%. So please, let's stop insulting the intelligence of Ghanaians. There's so much pain, there's so much anguish, there's so much hardship you have created. The least you can do is just apologize for the abysmal performance, your economic mismanagement.
Okay. Now, this is key point. I'll go for this last break. We'll come back and then we'll round this conversation on this particular issue up. Stay with us. We'll be back.
We all day inside. Join and enter the free daily sports quiz and win up to 25,000 Ghana cedis every day. Simply register at pridebet.com.gh now to start playing. PrideBet. Let's go!
Life can get hectic, and sometimes we forget to prioritize our well-being. That's where Vernal Mineral Water steps in. A refreshing solution packed with essential minerals, Vernal Mineral Water keeps you hydrated and balanced. Whether you're at home or work, Vernal Mineral Water is there to keep you going. Don't let a busy schedule hinder your health. Make Vernal Mineral Water a part of your daily routine. Share the love with Vernal Mineral Water, the choice for a healthy, vibrant you.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Key Point. Now, Mr. Agba, even though, as confirmed, there has been progress made under this IMF program, you cannot also discount the cost that the Ghanaian people have had to make for this progress to be achieved, and really why the president is not conceding to the suggestions to cut down the size of ministers, because governance cost, as Professor Bobkin indicated earlier, has been one of the major things that we have to deal with in terms of expenditure line items in this country. Why?
Alfred, thank you very much. I've sent you something just to answer my good brother, lawyer Webu, about government has not created one poultry farm, one rice farm, and all of that. I have a list of them here. I'll send it to you, but especially. So next time when you come, read it so people can see. But I sent you one. I'll send one to Alfred.
Let's make
progress. So, and because it doesn't have time, but I'll send it to you so you can read it. But this government promised moving the economy from taxation to production, and it did just that. And the one thing that we have to be honest with ourselves with is policy is a process. And so to date, there is about some 278 one district, one factories created. And they are working, they are producing. One good example is what I gave you. You can see and show that. I have a list here I can read to you. He talked also about rice factory, that we haven't created one rice factory. Yes, there is a number of them. The one in Fumbisi is almost ready to be commissioned. There's one rice factory in Savlugu that is operational as we speak. So two, the whole gold watch thing, my good professor was saying it and believing and removing his watch. It's not true. And you, Alfred, you were asking the right question here. It was not under this administration.
Sammy?
Yes. Sorry? Alfred, you see that you were removing your watch to demonstrate ABCD. I will send you a picture of it. Please show it so your viewers can see. It's not factual. It happened under the NDC, all right? And there's publication to that effect. So the volume of misinformation just coming, like a train that is lost control and just going down, is enormous. And that is confusing Ghanaians. And Alfred, that was just the context in which...
I asked a specific question about...
No, it's okay. I'll answer,
IMF.
please.
Yes, please answer that, Alfred, because we are dealing with time. We go
Alfred,
back and forth,
see,
respectfully.
I agree. The fundamental reason we come here is to inform and educate. And your questions are to inform a certain information. And I think that you allow us, once you ask the question, we'll get there. The point I am making is that the volume of misinformation out there is just dizzying.
Okay.
And also on your point, I need to respond to that also, on the federal bank, the Federal Reserve Bank. I will give you a Reuters story.
I'm not talking.
No, Alfred, it's important because
All
it
right.
created the impression that what I gave you was not true. But the projection is even worse. That by the time the 2025, the U.S. Central Bank will be incurring in excess of 200 billion debt, 200 billion. I'll give you the story to read.
No,
and it
you-
referenced the same thing that you said, but I'm just letting you understand the situation central banks are in. And the key
But
thing
the
I want to
central
hold
bank
on.
made profits. It
Hold
didn't
on.
make losses.
It made
That's
losses.
the
No, the point is, I agree
No,
with you, but the
look-
point is, just hold on, please. Please don't interrupt me. The point is that
I've spoken only once.
yes, no, you will get the chance.
Okay.
Please. So the point is that
Right.
But the point is that he gave me 5 minutes, so allow me to use the 5 minutes. But he says that look. He says that in spite of all this debt, and I'm reading the statement, I'll send it to you. It says that in spite of all this debt, this is the Reuters story. He said, by the same time, the central bank had cautioned many times that the situation is in no way, the situation in no way impairs its ability to conduct monetary policy and achieve its goals. So we're talking about a central government incurring losses and its ability to conduct its policy mandate is not impaired. So I just want to put that in context for you. Now,
You have 1 minute to respond to this.
no, you said 5 minutes. I beg you.
You started at
just
9:44.
that's okay. Just allow me, please,
Okay.
please. Even if a second, I'm okay. One, the issue we're talking about, they keep talking, we got 30 billion, 20 billion, COVID brought you that. You see, fiscal policy is a combination of what? Government spending and taxation. So when he says you share the money, it was toward regenerating the economy. It was not for people to actually just vanquish the money. You know this, it happens, that there is central government disbursement to people for purposes of creating demand from an economy that is in a slump. So it's a policy position. It cannot just make these things and walk away for free. And Alfred, you say it's 1 minute that is left. There are a whole lot of issues that we have to deal
Okay.
with here.
Well, thank
but
you.
The last point I want to make, I want to make is that, in fact, senior, no, I beg you.
No. Hold on.
Samuel was just talking. I haven't even spent
don't-
2 minutes.
don't.
I beg you.
Yes.
You see, my good brother talked about, the debt we make big deal about 120 billion that they left, or 122 billion, the debt that they accrued, that we're making a big deal of it. Ask him, when they took over in 2009, what was the debt stock when they inherited? 9.5 billion. And you left it some odd $122 billion, and you're telling us. The point I want to make in simple terms is that, Alfred, speaking to Ghanaians about the difficulty we are in is real. This government has acknowledged that. But what we want to do is to show the conversation about how we are regenerating the economy. All the facts that have been put forward yesterday shows that this economy is coming back and it will come back. The indicators are showing. The point is clear that the NDC has no alternative offering. All they put forward, and my brother has done when I asked him, so he has not finished speaking. But now he has finished speaking, but not a single
Right.
Not a single
your time
idea
is up. Thank
on
you.
how they were going to solve the problem. And we
your
have
time
shown
is
you
up.
in
Thank you.
PCPEG
So,
how the
Professor
economy
Jampo,
is coming back and it will come back.
to you on this verdict of the
Thank you. I read what made the headlines. The IMF saying that Ghana is doing well. Ghana is doing well. And the question I kept asking myself when I read the headline was that who is the IMF? Who are they? Do they understand our challenges better than ourselves? We don't need such attestations from them telling us that we are doing well. Let me define to you what good governance is about. When we talk about good governance, we are talking about efficient and effective management of scarce resources such that it translates into developmental outcomes that are tangibly reflected in the lives of the people. Now, if Ghana is doing well, IMF would not come and tell us. We ourselves, the ordinary people, would look into their living conditions and say that we are doing well. Okay? So it is not about them. You see, it is offensive, it is annoying when you are hungry and somebody sits in the comfort of his air condition and say that you are not hungry, things are better for you. It doesn't make sense. No, be say what mean. That's what they are trying to tell us. It doesn't make sense. We don't like such attestations. Let governance be carried out such that the developmental outcomes will be tangibly reflected in the lives of the people. The people themselves will clap. The people themselves will sing the praises of government. We don't want any propagandistic attestation from the IMF. They don't know anything better than we ourselves. Thank you.
Lawyer Matikbebo.
Yeah. Okay.
On
Right.
this particular issue, because you see, in the end, and let me just make the point that when I put out the facts as published by the Federal Reserve, I didn't make reference to a story. It was the federalreserve.gov website, the audited accounts of the 12 federal banks of the United States that indicated the profits that have been posted as at the end of the fiscal year 2022. So that can be made available. You can check it as well. It is not a Reuters story. Yes.
You are generous. You can
Now, on this particular point
also.
about
Okay,
the
so let me
issue
give you that so you
related
can reference that
to the impact of this particular program, there's been calls for not just the citizens to make sacrifices, but government as well to be seen to making corresponding sacrifices as well. Has that been exhibited so far?
Not at all. Not at all. You remember the poignant statement that the German ambassador made, Daniel Krah, right? Yes. You remember he asked, or he even told President Kufuor that his government is too big. In Germany, they have a smaller, size of government. And that is the point. The whole German ambassador, I'm not sure in the recent past, a German ambassador has had cause to make such a statement. So that tells you that the sacrifice is nowhere to be found at all. You look at the government, other expenditures that they said they would cut. You remember when we were going into this DDEP, we came out with a whole table, things that they should do to cut down. They haven't done much. They haven't. The Ofuriata said, oh yes, it's an interesting paper. They would look at it, and they've shelved it. So far, you remember Justice CJ Sofoekufu Yasantua also came out to ask that what did they do with the plenty money? So far, it's just like what Prof said. We analyze based on evidence. If there were cuts, we would have seen same. Right now, to the extent that people are suffering, the fuel prices are up. You see, even the last time the prices came down, GPRT refused to reduce. Food prices are still up. My favorite examples of yam and then toothpaste and all those, they are still where they are. They haven't gone down much, except yam that has come down by about 5 cedis to about 35 Ghana per tuber, right? So you don't see the cut. And even to make things worse, Mr. Council, let me bring this in. In recent times, there's even a heightened sense of insecurity in the Cantonment's airport area. This armed robber who has been robbing, if you look at it. So we would, and it ties in, because for us, security is very key. Apart from the food, you also want to go to bed and sleep soundly, knowing that no armed robber will come. So we'll call on Ghana Police Service to work on it. That lone armed robber, you see they send pictures around. It's causing a lot of insecurity in airport, cantonments, Labone area. And those are hundreds of thousands of citizens. So being a big security problem, I think Ghana Police Service, IGP Dampari, we beg you, because our big people, even say all citizens too, because when he's done raiding cantonments, airport, and Labone, he'll come next to us. So we can't just assume that we don't live in this area, so it doesn't affect us. So please, that lone armed robber, we should deal with it. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And just a minute each for, yes, Richard, the specific concern is about the corresponding actions that government has to take to at least complement the sacrifices that the Ghanaian people have made for us to get this progress under the IMF program. Is government willing to make these sacrifices?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Why hasn't that been executed so far?
That has been done, and you see the report indicates that the government, by the outcome of these staff level engagement, demonstrate that yes, have kept to all the indicators specified under the agreement. Both the quantitative and the indicative indicators have been adhered to, and as a matter of fact, when the board sits, Ghana is likely to be deemed as past this review. And so that shows you. And then the economic indicators showing here. And I think that, Prof, it's not as if IMF is telling us about us, but we are seeing the inflation measure that we put out. It is not IMF who did it for us. The GDP numbers that we are reporting, it's not IMF that did it for us. Okay. We are the ones measuring and reporting.
All right.
So definitely the economy is coming and will return back.
Yes.
My message is simple. This government has failed. We cannot wait to kick them out of office. But before they leave, they should stop the looting. It's unfortunate we didn't have time to discuss the latest scandals, but we'll return to them. The looting of prime airport lands, which I exposed this week, the Heaven Builders, a company that has no track record. Yesterday, I went to check the address out. It was some uncompleted building that has been overgrown with weeds. See what has happened with the Frontiers documents I put out. They brought in a private company without track record that made over $130 million.
Okay.
It is the looting.
The
looting. I mean, see what has happened. See what has happened. See what has happened over National Cathedral. Over 330 million.
I want to apologize to our viewers for not going on to the third issue, which is the issues related to the teachers, the exodus of the teachers. Gentlemen, so I would put it out that I apologize to our viewers for not going to the third issue, that is the teachers. I would want to thank you very much, Richard. Also, thank you to you as well, Samuel Okujetua, Black One North Tongue, member of Zarans. On behalf of the team, thank you.